won't use the microphone if you can all hear me. Okay, course improvements. Let me just close this up. Course improvements. Well, as you know, we had for over a number of years some master plan concepts which were explored by the board, and they were really to redevelop the entire property and including a lot of the infrastructure. And in earlier this year, the board put this process on hold. In summary, the plans were simply too elaborate, too extensive, and too expensive. So it was going to cost an enormous amount for I think we would have ended up with a very good golf course, but the golf course would have been unaffordable for us. But since then, and I guess during this process, we've put on hold a number of different improvements around the course, obvious problems that need to be fixed. And now it's time for us to turn our attention to those. The course improvements are fairly straightforward, but they should substantially improve our existing course. The course, remember, was done about 20 years ago. We rebuilt it, and at the time, I think Jim Wiltshire was planning for about 35,000 rounds a year. We're now planning over 45,000, up to about 50,000 rounds a year. Now the course shaper, Darby Muller, who's from Golf Shapes, has scoped out a lot of the works, not all of them. He hasn't completed some of the work, and he's been working with Jake on these things and with the input of matching greens. So we'll take you through the modifications which are being suggested. Now, just from a administrative point of view, we're going to record this. I think the recording is on. That recording will go on the website, so it'll be available for members to see. So it might be helpful if we finish the presentation, go all the way through, and we'll take questions at the end. Now, why are we doing this? It's an opportunity to inform members and let them ask questions about the planned work. I'll do the introduction. Jake will then give the details on first of two of the projects that we're going to start with, and we'll hold our questions as I mentioned. Okay, so what are the core issues we're trying to address? I think you could summarise it by saying relatively small teeing grounds, which make it very difficult to spread traffic around, particularly during winter when there's almost no turf break. And if you look at, say, the 15th, our total teeing ground area there is about 105 square metres, and it's spread out across a number, I think 5 different areas. With very small tees, it makes it they're practically impossible to use because they're much smaller than the surface area would indicate, because they're not all actually usable. The second point is that there are some areas of the course, the left-hand side of 10, left-hand side of 16, where good shots can be punished unfairly. So if you come off the bank on the left-hand side of 10, you end up in a hazard. It's an unfair penalty, and so we have to find a solution to those kinds of problems. Practice facilities is another one. We can improve our short game practice area, which is down at Hidden Valley, and we can have for example, practice bunkers that play to a proper putting surface, not as it is today where you're playing to a closely known fairway grass surface. It'd be fair to say that the members and coaches probably need a place to practice bunker shots without having to go out on the course and try and pick a gap in the field. Now, Darby has developed some plans. Jake will take us through those, and the priority work will be on the 3rd and the 15th tees. We're hoping to start that work in January. So now, priorities. The 3rd tee complex, the 8th tee complex, the 13th and the 15th, they're the teeing grounds which will on. We'll try to keep the construction style in exactly the same way as originally designed by Woodshed. That's to say there will be grass banks rather than having lots of stairs and retaining walls and things like that. So any retaining walls which are going to be constructed will largely be out of sight from the players. Now, let's see, the other things to think about, the fifth T complex, some of the retaining walls that we do have down there, which are the old railway sleepers, they're starting to rot out, and so they need to be replaced. That's just repairs and maintenance. The seventh T, the chute going from the seventh T and the seventh green, you'll remember during the very wet period that there was so much rain that the rain was coming down the dish drain on the left-hand side of that hole, flowing across the fairway, and it turned it into a bog. What we need to do, we need to re-establish that dish drain to prevent that from occurring again, and that's something which the team can do without too much assistance. The 10th green surround, we've talked about that. 16th green surround. By the way, we don't have a plan for the 10th green surround yet, because it is quite problematic about what to do with dealing with that issue. The 16th, however, we do have plans, and you'll see that in the presentation. And also, there's a presentation on, there's a slide or two on Hidden Valley. So I might get Jake now to come and address the third T in particular, start with the third T, and then I'll come back and finish off the presentation, and then we'll take some questions.
Thanks, David. So we'll just have a look at the issues, the proposed solutions, and then we've also got an overhead map that kind of outlines the works that we're looking to complete. So if we talk about the third T current issues, well, we know we're talking about T size, it's insufficient.